This 32-year-old man was jailed for 160 years behind bars. Who was this man? The name of this man was Ataa Ayi from Ghana, and his life changed after his mother got greener pastures and traveled to the United Kingdom, leaving Ataa Ayi in class 4. And Ataa Ayi dropped out after he was unable to pay school fees. Ataa Ayi was the lastborn of 8 children. Few years passed and Ataa Ayi grew into adulthood, and he married a very beautiful wife, and he needed some income to sustain his new family. So Ataa Ayi learned a skill in the mechanics sector, and he became a very good mechanic. And one time a friend connected him to another person who needed a taxi driver, and Ataa Ayi gave himself in and became a taxi driver. And while in the taxi business, so many clients really liked Ataa Ayi because he was respectful, charming, and obedient, and great at what he does. So most of the times, client booked Ataa Ayi for short and long distances. One time, a client wanted to attend a funeral in the upcountry and booked Ataa Ayi, and Ataa Ayi had no problem. The following day came, and Ataa Ayi woke up very early in the morning. He picked up the client, and the journey began. They started going to upcountry. However, few hours into their journey, they got an accident, and a car came from nowhere and knocked Ataa Ayi's car, and the car was really wrecked and it was written off. So Ataa Ayi, luckily, he was not hurt so much, and he called the owner of the car, and he told the owner of the car what had really happened. However, the owner of the car did not want to listen at anything that Ataa Ayi was telling him, and he needed his car immediately. And Ataa Ayi had no way of buying or even repairing the owner's car. So Ataa Ayi decided to escape in order to go look for a job and try to pay back the car. And also by this time, her wife was pregnant, so he needed some income in order to also support his family. So Ataa Ayi met one of his long-time friend and told the friend about his problems. And luckily, the friend's boss was looking for an experienced driver, and Ataa Ayi was one of the experienced driver. Ataa Ayi went ahead and told the friend that he needed 1 day so that he can create a CV which he will present to the friend's boss. However, the friend told Ataa Ayi that there was no need for a CV, and if he was ready, they could even go right away. So Ataa Ayi had no issue, and they went to meet the friend's boss. And on reaching, the boss described on what actually Ataa Ayi was going to do at his new work. And after the boss described the work which Ataa Ayi was going to do, Ataa Ayi immediately refused the job offer. This is because the job entailed crimes such as stealing cars and robbing individuals who were coming from the banks. Ataa Ayi went and left the friend with his boss. However, after a few days of suffering in the streets with no income, Ataa Ayi went back to the friend and told the friend that he was ready to work for the boss. And if the driver's opening has not been filled by anybody, he was ready to work. So they went back to the boss, and the boss had not gotten anybody else who was going to occupy the driver's position. And immediately Ataa Ayi was picked and work started immediately. Ataa Ayi and his new gang participated in some small crimes here and there. However, their first successful crime came in 1999 when they robbed 12 million Ghanaian cedi. And Ataa Ayi was given 2.5 million and he became an overnight millionaire. He really enjoyed his job from here onwards. However, as Atai and his gang members continued with their normal work, they faced some challenges because some of the people they tried to rob were not cooperating, and they needed a weapon which they did not have so that most people could cooperate with them when they approach them and steal from them very, very easily. Luckily, one day, as they were on their normal duties, they came across an unattended police gun which was in a car. They did not waste any single time and they stole this gun and they fled away. However, they had another problem with this gun. This is because none of the gang members actually knew how to operate the gun. So, Atai volunteered himself to be trained on how to operate this gun. And they got a person and Atai was trained. And after a few hours, Atai was able to operate the gun and he went back to the gang members and he also trained the gang members, and the whole gang now could be able to use the gun without any difficulties. With this gun in place, Atai and his gang were stronger and more confident, and they went back to work and they trailed a man who had gone to withdraw money from a bank. The money which the man had withdrawn was about 22 million cedis. They trailed this man and the man was planning to give this money to his wife. However, before he could hand over the money to the wife, the gang pounced on the man and stole the 22 million. Then they fled away. And the man reported this matter to the police. Few months later, the gang targeted a pastor who had gone to withdraw around 56 million cedis from the bank, and they trailed the man of God from the bank to the church. And when the pastor entered the church, the gang member followed the pastor inside the church. And they got another pastor who was counting about 6 million cedis. And the gang, without wasting any time, they shot the pastor and they got away with the 6 million cedis. The pastors went and reported the matter to the police. However, the police were not able to arrest Ataa Ayi and the other gang members from the descriptions of the pastor. The gang did not stop there, and they were able to trail another woman, and they studied the routine of the woman who was a very successful business woman in Ghana, and they were able to know the time she opens and the time she closes her business, which was making a lot of profit. So one night when the woman was closing her business, the gang member divided themselves. One of the group's gang was to follow the woman, and the other group were going to block the junction which the woman uses as she was going home. So on this particular day, they followed the woman, and when the woman reached the junction, another gang came and blocked the road, and they pounced on the woman immediately, and they found the woman with around 45 million cedis, which they stole from her, and the woman immediately reported what had happened to the police. After the report, a manhunt for this gang started immediately, and after 2 days, some of the gang members were arrested. But Atai was not one of the members who was arrested. However, one of the gang members came clean and decided he was going to help the police with investigation. So he told the police where Atai used to live and hide. Immediately, the police went to the location which they had been told by the gang members. However, on reaching this particular location, they did not find Ataa Ayi at his place. The reason why they did not find Atai is because Atai had traveled to up country to attend a funeral. One of Atai's neighbors called Atai and told him that the police were actually looking for him, and immediately Atai left the funeral before it was over and he escaped and went to her sister's place. And the police looked for Ataa Ayi everywhere. They could not find Ataa Ayi, and stories began to come up. People from the community believed that Ataa Ayi was using charms or rituals because it was so difficult to arrest Ataa Ayi. Some stories came up like that Ataa Ayi could disappear as he was being chased by the police. And other people were also saying that you could not shoot Ataa Ayi because each and every time the police tried shooting Ataa Ayi, the bullets turned into water and splashed on Ataa Ayi's face. However, one time when Ataa Ayi was at her sister's place, an argument erupted and Ataa Ayi beat up one of the tenants so badly. And these tenants decided to follow the law, and he went and reported the matter to the police. And the police escorted back this tenant to go and see the person who had assaulted the tenant. The police, on reaching the scene, the tenant pointed at a man who was hanging clothes on the clothesline. And on looking closely, the police could not believe their eyes because they had come face to face with one of the most wanted men in Ghana. Immediately, Ataa Ayi noticed that the police had seen him. Ataa Ayi went down on his knees and begged the police not to kill him. The police knew the kind of person they were dealing with, and they approached Ataa Ayi very cautiously, and they arrested him by handcuffing him, and they took him to the police station, and charges were written against him. And the following day, Ataa Ayi was taken to court, where some of the gang members came and helped the state in prosecuting Ataa Ayi. Witnesses came from all over the country and they gave evidence against Ataa Ayi. It was believed that the gang members stole about 700 million, cars, jewelry, and phones. The evidence against Ataa Ayi was overwhelming, and the judge had no option but to sentence Ataa Ayi to 160 years behind bars. As we speak, in 2024, Ataa Ayi is still in prison, but while in prison, Ataa Ayi changed his life and he gave his life to Christ, and he became a pastor who is now winning souls from the darkness to the light. And Ataa Ayi continues to plead with the government to pardon him. Ataa Ayi hopes that one day he will be released and he will become a great pastor. Subscribe. What do you think about the story? Comment and share with your friends. Until next time. Ciao.